Sheep are reared in all great temperate grasslands of the world. But it is only in the southern hemisphere that wool is produced in large quantities for export. The principal wool exporting countries are the Argentine, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Climate plays an important part in wool production. Sheep are reared only where the climate is not too hot and where there is just sufficient rainfall for grass. In Australia, sheep are found in areas which have a rainfall of more than 10 inches a year. The light area shows this rainfall. They are also found in areas which have an annual average temperature of less than 70 degrees Fahrenheit, like this. The best sheep for wool are found where favorable rainfall and temperature are combined, here and here. Sheep farming is carried on a large scale within these areas, particularly in New South Wales. Let's look at a diagram of a typical wool station in New South Wales. The country around is flat plain land with a small stream running through the station. The homestead, where the owner-manager lives, is surrounded by its own garden and paddock. Some way apart, the overseer has his own cottage. The other station hands have their living quarters here. These men live and work on the station all the year round. On the other side of the road, there is the stockyard, where the horses and cattle are kept, the hay sheds, and the station machinery. Further away are the shearing sheds. Open pens, into which the sheep are driven, lie around the sheds. Here, thousands of sheep are held ready for shearing. Special living quarters are built for the shearers, who visit the station once a year. Now let's have a look at the life on a real wool station. September is the end of the shearing season and the beginning of the year on the wool station. The sheared sheep are let out of the pens and driven into an enclosure where they are sprayed with a strong disinfectant to keep off pests. Meanwhile, the shearing shed is cleared up and the shearers prepared to leave. They say goodbye and set off to the next farm, where there are more sheep waiting to be sheared. Out in the pastures, the sheep graze peacefully for some months. The breeding season begins in November. Fine stud rams are let out to join the ewes in the paddocks. During the hot summer months, there's always a danger of drought. The streams and river beds may dry up and the sheep grow thin and thirsty. At these times, the wool grower must feed the sheep with extra hay and grain. Water for the sheep is brought up by a wind pump or by an artesian well. It runs into irrigation channels to water the land, or is pumped into drinking troughs for the sheep. Sometimes, in the rainy season, the sheep get badly bitten by blowfly. Any sheep attacked in this way is singled out for treatment. The modern method of treating the sheep is by jetting. This equipment soaks the hind quarters of the sheep with a strong disinfectant, and so kills the pest. In May, the lambing season begins. The wool grower must keep a watchful eye on the ewes and their lambs. September again, and the shearers begin to arrive on the station. From all corners of the estate, the station hands round up the sheep. They stream into the station with their thick, heavy fleeces ready for shearing. Once they have reached the yards, they are driven into pens and down a narrow passage, where one of the station hands separates them according to sex and age. A further check can be made by examining the number of nicks in the ear of each sheep. Shearing begins next morning. Whilst the sheep wait in the pens, the shearers get their electric clippers ready. When the bell rings, each shearer fetches a sheep and sets to work. Shearing a sheep takes about 2 minutes, and the shearer is paid according to the number of sheep he shears. As the fleece falls to the ground, it's picked up by a boy who throws it out on a slotted table. 2 men remove the tufts of dirty wool on the side of the fleece and pass it onto the wool classer. The loose pieces are sorted into another pile. The wool classer examines the wool and tests it for quality. He puts the fleeces into piles according to their grade. The fleeces are then pressed into jute bales and marked with the name of the station and quality of the wool. These bales are sent to the wool store at Sydney. Here, prospective buyers inspect the wool. Eventually, the wool is auctioned and sold to the man who makes the highest bid for it.
14 and a half. Mr. Warren, about 8. 16. 41. 14 and a half. 16 and a half. Wins. About 9. Begin. About 51. 23. 21, 1.
The man who has bought the wool arranges for it to be shipped to England. There it will be made into woolen goods of all kinds. Australian wool is exported to many parts of the world, but by far the greatest amount is sent to England. On arrival in England, the bales of wool are unloaded and dispatched to the woolen mills. Once inside the mills, the bales are undone and the wool is graded again. All the finest wool in the fleece is put into one basket, the second best into another, and so on. Each basket is emptied into a scouring or washing machine. This washing removes the dirt and oil from the wool. The next important process is carding. This machine separates the short matted hairs of the fleece and binds them together to form a thick strand of wool called a sliver. The slivers go into the combing machine, which combs the wool out more finely. The wool is washed again and goes into another combing machine for further treatment. Now the thick slivers of soft white wool must be stretched and gradually drawn out into the very fine strands suitable for making into cloth. These single strands onto bobbins. From there, thousands of different strands are combined to form the warp of the material on a weaving machine. Cloth is woven according to special patterns on electrically driven machines. In this slow motion picture, it's just possible to see the shuttle flying backwards and forwards. After weaving, the cloth is inspected for any flaws or weakness. It's then packed up in bales, ready for export, or for delivery to the shops and stores all over Great Britain. In the same way, the Argentine, South Africa, and New Zealand export their wool to other countries, where it's manufactured into clothes and other materials for the peoples of the world.